गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Panchadashi Amrit Anubhav, verse OV number 30 and OV number 30 of the 5th chapter of Amrit Anubhav. And here we are seeing in this chapter how the words Sat, Chit and Anand are not qualified to describe the truth. And Jnaneshwar Maharaj says that the word Sat is not to prove that the truth is there, but to cancel the untruth. The Sat means existence. So word existence is used to cancel non-existence. The word Chit, consciousness, is used to cancel inertness, and the word Anand, bliss, is used to cancel misery. So these words have these opposites, so that our mind does not go into it, so that we don't start considering ourselves to be a Sat and a Chit and a Anand. Anand, there is no word like that. I am just making it up. It's Dukkha. Ananda. Dukkha. Therefore, these positive affirmations, so to speak, are used so that we get out of the mind. From the absolute self point of view, there is no definition of the truth saying that it is Sat Chit Anand. For him, from truth's point of view, it is everything. It is the only thing that there is. Just like towards the end of meditation I said, or Jnaneshwar Maharaj has also said, that from sun's point of view there is nothing called day and night. From sun's point of view there is nothing called heat and light. It is its nature. Similarly, from the truth's point of view there is nothing called Sat Chit Anand, or there is nothing called Asat, Achit and Dukkha. From whose point is sun, day and night? From someone who's not the sun. Isn't it? And therefore we are saying there is thank you for Lord Sun for the day and night. But if you become, so from whose point there is Asat and Sat and Asat? From the mind's point of view. The duality, the separation, the differences, the opposites, that is present in the mind. But who is that who is illuminating the mind? That is neither Sat nor Asat. So it is that principle in whose light the mind is able to have thoughts. It must be beyond the thoughts, isn't it? That principle in whose presence, in whose light the in-breath and the out-breath was expressing, it has to be other than the breath. That principle in whose presence the thoughts, positive or negative, are coming and going in the mind, has to be other than the mind. Then is that presence or absence? Is that truth or untruth? Is that consciousness or inertness? You can't say anything. And yet it is. And yet it is. And that I am. Recognized in this way. So here that idea is being continued. And here in the 30th verse, Jnaneshwar Maharaj gives an example. The same thought continues with a subtle example. Need prabodha cha thai na se tai se jagane hi tevi chin matra chi ma kai chin matri he iye. As there is no sleep in the waking, so also there is no waking as well. Similarly, in pure consciousness, how can there be consciousness? Huh? Now you require very, very calm. Too much thinking is not required here. Just don't try to analyze this sentence with some other information or compare and try to work it out. If you try to work it out, you will not be able to work it out because you are creating stress in your mind. You have to be absolutely poised. Allow the words to reveal themselves. And what is being so told? As there is no sleep in the waking. No, Swamiji, what are you talking about? While waking also we can sleep. Don't challenge us. In the class also we can sleep. So it may be, but it may be waking for us. For you it is sleep only. If you are sleeping, then waking is not available. Because we know the waking world and the waker has no entry in the dream world and the dreamer. When the waker transcends the waking world, he goes into the dream world or he goes into the deep sleep world. These are the three worlds that we go through: waking world, dream world and deep sleep world. Each one has got no entry in the other, isn't it? Each one is complete in itself. So you cannot have food in the dream and say after wake up out of the dream, you say, oh, I am full because I ate in the dream. You cannot do that, isn't it? And so also in the waking, nahi, acha yaar, abhi mere paas time nahi hai, I am going to dream now. I'll continue the journey there. It cannot be possible. Some people try. Yeah, some sadhakas, even in dream, it comes, especially in Kriya Yoga and other yogas. Even in dream the sadhana continues, because then they recognize they are awake in the dream also and they are continuing. Therefore, so here he says there is no sleep. When I say they are awake in the dream also, does not mean that then this statement will become false. And the statement that we just made, or the scriptures make, that you cannot enter, the waker cannot enter the dream world. So when a waker is awake in the dream, then he is not dreaming, he is awake only. Isn't it? He is conscious. So as there is no sleep in waking, so also there is no waking as well. So if there is no, just like from water's point of view, there is no wetness and hardness. ठीक है ना? There is no wetness and hardness. Then can we call water wet? Can water call itself, I am wet? No. Just like sun cannot call itself that I am heat or I am light, water cannot call itself that I am wet. Similarly, this conscious self that we are talking about, this pure consciousness that we are talking about, cannot call itself as conscious. Now you are creating another confusion. You are using word consciousness against inertness, and then you are using pure consciousness, and you are saying pure conscious. From pure consciousness point of view, there is no consciousness and inertness. Is not consciousness and pure consciousness the same thing? They are. It's just to explain that the what you call, the standpoint that you are taking. Is the mother not the woman also? Is not the mother woman also? It is the woman also. But when you take the standpoint of a mother, your role is different. When you take the standpoint of woman, all the roles are included in the woman, isn't it? But when you take the role of a mother, then all other roles are excluded. Only one role of the mother. But when you come to be the woman, then you don't have to say I am also this, I am also that, I am also that. Everything is included in it. When you use the word I, all the limbs are automatically included in that. You don't keep saying, "Arey, today also I am a right hand, tomorrow also I will be left hand." No, pagal ho jaoge. Everything is included. So the left and the right, you don't think of yourself as left and right. You only think of yourself as one, isn't it? Similarly, this truth, this pure consciousness also thinks, I'm using the word think, if it had to think, if it was able to think. If at all its position is to be ascertained, it will not, it will be everything and at the same time nothing. See? And that is the position that Jnaneshwar Maharaj is telling is of this pure consciousness. In the waking state there is no sleep, so also there is no waking. The common mistake is A, to take only the waking state as the total life, which means that one tries to understand the truth with reference to only 1/3 of total existence, and B, in the waking state to consider only the waker as real and the waking world as illusion. In the waking state to consider only the waker as real and the waking world as illusion. We are obsessed. This thought came last time or in Panchadashi, that we are very choosy. We think that the waking plane, this waking world that we are finding ourselves in, is the longest. The dream takes place only for a few minutes or half an hour, 1 hour at night, and then rest of the time we go to sleep, and we find ourselves to be maximum spending in the waking world, isn't it? It seems that way. But if you really look at your experience, you cover more time and more space and distance in dream. You can go through lifetimes in a dream. You can go from here, suddenly you were born in India, or maybe you were living in America, and then you grew old also, and the children also, the whole story goes. And then you are reborn also. So, is that for the dreamer? That is a very long journey compared to the waker. But we are obsessed with only the waking world. Look at it another way, as we explained in one of the classes. We insist that the waking world is real, and tomorrow, where I left this waking world today, it must continue tomorrow. Isn't it? Why don't we do with the same thing with the dream world? When you are dreaming the dream, it is very real. Isn't it? Then why don't you insist every night when the dreamer is there? Why does the dreamer not insist that the dream must continue in the next day also, from where you left it? This obsession. So dreamer is intelligent in one way. It drops the dream. He lives for those few moments of the dream world, and gives zero value to it. Next day, chalo naya, new dream. Then every day it's a new dream. But the waker is making one mistake. He's pulling the past into the present and the present into the future. He is creating a continuity where there is no continuity. Just like in dream there is no continuity from one dream to the next dream to the next dream. Similarly, from yesterday there is no continuity to today. From today there is no continuity to tomorrow. Will not be. But this ego feels that it is continuous. He has made himself believe of this continuity. The continuity that is his nature. The continuous principle is the self. That continuity he is superimposing on the outside world, and thus gets deluded.
For the waker also, whatever has happened in the past is like a dream only. Because you can't do anything.
Past, but the point is that you are here right now, and you will. Yesterday you went to home early. Why did you go home early?
Whatever has happened, it is like a dream, but you can't go back to that, or you cannot do anything with that, what has happened. In dream also, it is the same thing. You have seen it, but you can't do anything with that. The same thing is in the waking world. Whatever you have done in the past, whatever has happened in the past, you won't be able to do anything with that.
But we are not talking about what has happened in the past.
No, that's also a dream, isn't it?
Of course, what has happened in
It's
the
a
past
dream.
is gone.
Dream.
Nothing can be done about it.
Yeah, that's a
But
dream.
contemplation is about the present. The dreamer, when he is dreaming the dream, he is in the present moment. The dreamer. In the dream, hardly you think about the past events. The events are taking so fast. So when, yeah.
In the waking world, you can, when you think of the past in the present, is it the present or is it the past?
What?
Like any incident that you remember from the past and you relate it to the present.
It is in the present then.
It is in the present.
You can think
So you
only.
are acting in the
You
present.
can think only in the present moment. But what you think about, what is the object of your remembrance, that could be from the past,
Past, yeah.
or could be an imagination of the future.
What could be from
But
the
in the present moment, in the utter present, there cannot be any memory possible. When you come right now, stop. The past and future are absent. When you laugh, past and future are absent. So 3 hours we were in present moment yesterday. But 3 hours tells you a distance, a time covered, isn't it? So how can we be in present moment for 3 hours? Every moment we were in the moment.
Yeah, it's the present.
But the ego creates a continuity in that. So when we want to inquire, we have to inquire that we are not only the waker, but also the dreamer and the deep sleeper. When you take these three aspects of yourself, because that makes you a complete whole. That's your daily experience, that you are a waker, you are a dreamer, and you are a deep sleeper. And when you inquire and look at, how come then in waking I am having different rules of operation, in dream I have got different rules of operation, in deep sleep I have got different rules of operation. Deep sleep means there is no operation. In dream, the continuity in the dream is not carried forward. In the waking it is carried forward. If it has to happen, either I should be able to carry forward the experience of today into tomorrow in the dream, or I should do the other way. Like every dream is complete in itself and it goes away. There is no memory also of it. Then the waker must also experience the day, every moment, and then forget about it completely. How can it be one is both places you only are, but there you are having a different experience, here you are creating a different experience of continuity. So why we are doing this? Because we are obsessed only with being the waker, and this has to change. And this can change only when we take our entire personality, the waker, dreamer and the deep sleeper, into our inquiry. Just inquiring into the waker is not enough. But inquiry can take place only in the waking state. It cannot take place in the dream state.
Being a waker gives you a sense of permanency.
But the dreamer also feels very permanent in the dream at that time, because the dreamer doesn't know that he is a dreamer. Dreamer thinks that he is having his experience.
Yeah.
See how we have fooled ourselves.
Once you're out of the dream, you know it's a dream, so
Haan.
it's easy to drop it.
Exactly the same way, when you wake up from this waking dream, you will realize that buddhu tha main for last
This
so
is
many
also a
years.
dream.
This is also a dream. But the waker must become convinced. By waker, the grace must come to this waker. See?
We feel when we're awake that we're in control of things. In the dream, we've got no control over what happens so much. It just comes as a whole series of events that seem to know.
No. You are saying it as a waker that it comes as a series of events.
Yes.
No, the dreamer is having sometimes the dream is slow and you can go through various things
Yeah.
fully in control. the sense of control is a little bit airy-fairy,
Yeah.
but it is there. He is enjoying his journey. Otherwise, you won't be dreaming. But something untoward happens, and that becomes the cause of you waking up, isn't it? Or something happens that the dream stops and you glide into deep sleep. Yeah, na? So, do you create that event to stop the mind so that you can glide into deep sleep? It happens. Do you create the event so that you can come out of the dream and become awake again? No, it happens. But why it happens? Why it happens? Can you put a cause to it? No, it just happens. Depending upon our mindset, for some person maybe burning, if the fire is burning, that person will wake up. But if a person is wearing a fire suit, that fellow in the dream, that fellow will not wake up. He will walk through the fire. Another person, if their lion is in front of him, he will wake up shivering. I was about to get into the and I am still in my bed and go back to sleep. But another person, if Bharat Maharaj was there, in his childhood itself, he caught hold of the jaw of the tiger and pulled it apart at the age of 9 or 10. Now, if he is dreaming, lion, aja, dekhta hu. He will not wake up in the dream or out of the dream. He will continue because he is not having any fear. So, whatever issues you are harboring within your subconscious, some fears, they become the cause of you waking up. Something. It doesn't have to be only a fear. It could be a desire also that will wake you up. So, the point is that we must inquire into the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper as one unit. You are all the three. You are not just the waker. No doubt that the deep sleep is the tamasic expression of you, the dream is the rajasic expression of you, and the waking is the sattvic expression of you. And the only possible way of transcending this many yous is only through the waking state. Because in dream state the thoughts are going so fast that you don't know what has hit you. In the waking state, it is, yes, thoughts can be going fast, but there is a possibility that you can calm down the thoughts, you can transcend the thoughts. Here Jnaneshwara is saying that in the waking state there is neither sleep nor waking. That means in the waking state there is neither sleep nor waking. This apparent movement from one plane of consciousness to another has as little significance as the movement of the wave on the ocean. So we perceive the movement of the wave on the ocean, but actually speaking, it's all water only. Water is moving within water. So is there water moving? A form called wave has appeared on the ocean. Has anything appeared? There is a crease on my cloth, on my shirt. Has anything appeared? Or it is only an appearance?
Depends on your standpoint.
So we are looking at from absolute standpoint, not from relative standpoint. Because we want to transcend the waking. We want to transcend the individuality. So like that, the whole, just like this crease seems to be there, but actually only cloth is there. The wave seems to be there, but actually only ocean is there. Exactly the same way. It seems that the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper are there, but actually the self is there. It's a seeming appearance, and therefore we keep saying again and again, it's as if that one reality has fallen down to become individuality or totality. As if. That is, means it is, it's an appearance. Actually it is not. Just like as if Out of you, the mother comes out of you, the husband comes out of you, the sister comes out of you, the daughter come out. But you continue to be the one. You have not become many. You know, all these are included in me. But if you get identified with one of them, then you lose the whole plot. Isn't it? But if you be the woman, then you are fine. Now go further. You know the body, breath, mind, intellect are in me alone. But if you get identified with the body, you have lost the plot. If you get identified with the breath, little bit less you have lost, but you have still lost the plot. If you get identified with the mind, even lesser. The identification is not that strong, but it is still there. See? So from self point of view, it is just like you were expressing as various roles, knowing that all are me. If you have not thought about it, now you can think about it. You are expressing as all the parts of your body, but you know they are all in me, so you don't think about it. You know that all the sheaths, the gross sheath, the vital air sheath, the mental sheath, the intellectual sheath are all included in me, but we rarely talk about it until we come to Vedanta class. Huh? Because but we know, I am also the intellect, I am also the mind, I am also the breathing apparatus, the person, and I am also the body. How many times do you talk about these four things? Very rarely. Because they are already included in you. And because they are included in you, don't talk about it. So two places you talk about them. Either you go to a psychiatrist, he makes you talk about it, or you come to Vedanta and you talk about it. The psychiatrist establishes that you are mad, and Vedanta establishes that in spite of being mad, you are realized. It's okay to be mad. So in this way, in reality, the waker is equally an illusion, because the waking state as a whole is an illusion, just like dream is an illusion, and therefore the one who was dreaming the dream illusion is also not the reality. He is only an appearance, just like a wave is an appearance on the waters. Similarly, this waker also is an illusion who is imagining the waking world. The truth is something else, because what is truth? Which does not change. Waker changes every day, isn't it? Can you say you are the same one from yesterday? You know that you are not the same one, but you still continue to be the same one in your own mind, isn't it? So we fool ourselves. So in this way, contemplate. Here Jnaneshwara is saying that in the waking state there is neither sleep nor waking. This apparent movement from one plane of consciousness to another has as little significance as the movement of the wave on the ocean. So will the waters feel the movement of the wave? Will it be excited when a wave is born? Will it get depressed when a wave dies? Why? Why it will not? Because even before the wave was, the water was. Even while the wave was, water was, or water is. And even after the wave dies, the water will continue to be. So it has never become any less, isn't it? Therefore, it is necessary to say that I am pure Is it necessary to say that I am pure consciousness? In making such a statement, one only accepts being pure consciousness, the Chidabhasa, the Vyaktitva, the individuality, the Jiva Bhava. This is what Bhagavan Krishna states emphatically when he talks about Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, or Kshetram, the field itself. The Kshetrajna is not the Chidabhasa. The knower of the field is not Chidabhasa. At this moment, if you are nodding, you know, if you come to this point that I know that I express as a waker, I express as a dreamer, I express as a deep sleeper. For that minuscule moment, you are not the waker. For that one moment, you are not the waker. The only one who can know that these three are not real has to be someone else, isn't it? How can you make that statement? Only if you are observing the three, then you can make that statement. So if you are observing that statement, that these three are coming and going, then you have to be other than these three. Then who is that other thing? That's the one we are talking about. See? When we get identified with the body, we get identified with the reflected consciousness. That's the Chidabhasa. When we get identified with the Chidabhasa, automatically the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, we take the Jiva Bhav, the individual identity. And the truth is, what is the truth? Is it individual or total? I'm sorry. It is neither individual nor total.
It's only one.
It's only one. Individual and total are concepts that our mind has created so that I am one. No. There must be some way. Acha bhaiya, you go to total and then you go to the one.
But isn't that the way you progress to
Understand
that
things.
level?
It depends from person to person. From person. There are two paths. One is the direct path, the other is step-by-step path. Kundalini Marg, Kriya Yoga Marg, Ashtanga Yoga Marg, Nad Brahma, the Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. These are all step-by-step. Vedanta is boom, gone. Sudden explosion. Till you are going through it, you are not doing any sadhana. You are only doing mental exercise, gymnastics. Stretch this concept, stretch that. And what is the concept that you are gymnastic that you are doing? That there is no concept. So you are trying to remove all concepts from the mind in Vedanta. Veda Anta. Veda Anta means no thought. Vedas are nothing but thoughts. Here Naneshwar Maharaj is not using the word Vedanta also. Every Jivatma Bhav is supported by the same Kutastha Chaitanya. Every day's waker, every day's dreamer, every day's deep sleeper is supported that by one unchanging principle. If you have not experienced your absence from birth till today, have you ever experienced your absence? Whether the waker was there or not there, whether the dreamer was there or not there, whether the deep sleeper was there or not there, you have experienced, intrinsically you know, you have been continuously been present from birth till today, till this moment, isn't it? You didn't feel that sometime you were absent. You didn't feel that. So who is that continuous principle? It cannot be waker, because waker was absent in the dream. Dreamer was absent in the deep sleep. So it cannot be that continuous experience cannot be of the waker, dreamer and the deep sleeper. It has to be someone else. That is the real you. And that real you cannot be called, it may express or seem to express as the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. But from its point of view, it's neither any of those three. Similarly, it is not also only this body. The more you come to that principle, continuous principle, slowly, slowly the vision expands that every jiva, every individual, I am alone expressing. Behind every thought I am, behind every mind I am, behind every breath I am. Om Sahasra Shirasha Purusha. In reality, there is nothing like Kutastha Chaitanya. That term is used only because of unwarranted attention on the Chidabhasa. Otherwise, there is Chinmatra, only consciousness and nothing else. We say there is one small I called the ego I. Then we say there is a big I called the God I or the witnessing I. Then we say that witness, when it becomes aware of itself, it will become it is the absolute. Who is saying all this? We say the jiva, the micro, the individual has to contemplate on the total. Just like few minutes ago we were talking about it. And that total already knows that it is the transcendental also. Ishvara knows that he is formless and attributeless. So first, if I must come to know the Ishvara, while going on the way to Ishvara, there are these different stages and you have to go through all of them. We have only created them for ourselves. Really speaking, nothing like that is there. Only one, and one alone is there. So here Swamiji is saying, we use the word Kutastha Chaitanya because we are identified with the reflected consciousness. So reflected consciousness, the small I, it keeps getting buffeted. Sometimes it becomes the waker, sometimes it becomes the dreamer, sometimes it becomes the deep sleeper. Sometimes it becomes in the waking also, it doesn't stop. Sometimes it becomes the mother, sometimes it becomes the wife, sometimes it becomes the sister, sometimes it becomes the daughter. Continuously it keeps breaking itself up depending upon the roles that it has to take or whatever it has got identified with. So it is a break without a break. Similarly, at a deeper level, the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper are a break of that Chidabhas, but actually no break has taken place. But we are so obsessed with these roles, so we have to, the scriptures or the teachers have to keep saying that there is one continuous principle which never breaks. And we give the example, water never breaks but seems to be breaking. The mud never breaks but seems to be formed into a pot and then breaks and becomes the earth again. But actually, from earth's point of view, nothing has happened. See?
Get divorced. From the woman's point of view, nothing has happened, but the wife is gone.
Yes, agree. I एकदम से
Just thinking of it.
From woman's point of view, if you divorce, nothing has happened. But the illusory entity has vanished. And that illusory entity came because of identification of the woman with the man. So, an illusory entity called wife was created. Where was it? To show me where is the wife? You can't show me wife. You can only show the woman. So when we inquire into this I, the small I, we will not find that it is either a waker or a dreamer or a deep sleeper. When we inquire into the I, we will land up into the one without a second principle. But if in our mind, while we are thinking about the I, inquiring about the I, contemplating about the I, if the idea is, yeah, it is difficult, how many steps will be there, then many steps will come. If you think that I am what I am seeking already, how can I seek I? Foolish I am. Everything will stop there and then. The thought is continued with reference to Ananda. ऐसे यया सुखपणे नाही दुख कीर होणे माँ सुख है गणने सुखासी काई. That bliss where there is no trace of misery, how can we call it bliss as bliss? So only with reference to in one of the scriptures, I don't know where it comes. So they use the word joy versus sorrow. So Shanti versus Ashanti. Peace versus no peace. But what is Prashanti? Which is beyond peace and no peace. Isn't it? So it is in Prashanti both are included, but it is not affected by their coming and going. Just like water is not affected by coming and going of the wave, earth is not affected by coming and going of the pots, sun is not affected by coming and going of the day and night. Similarly, Prashanti is not affected by coming and going of Shanti and Ashanti. Similarly, the pure consciousness is not affected by coming and going of waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. Pure consciousness, the self, is not affected by coming and going of joy and sorrow. So when joy and sorrow is not there, why did we use the word Sat Chit Ananda? Why are we using the word Ananda? To show to our mind that this Ananda is the transcendental principle which is beyond the joy and the sorrow, beyond Sukha and Dukha. So some idea is being given that it is that which does not get affected. So you don't get caught up in the polarities. You don't get caught up in the opposites. When you're thinking of that one which is not affected by the opposites, then your mind will transcend these two. But the moment it transcends these two, do you need to know, oh, am I missing bliss? No, you don't have to. Then you are that. Then will you call it bliss? No, you will not call it bliss. You will not call it bliss. Do you call yourself, I am the body? No. After coming to Vedanta class, I realized I am also the mind. Do you say that? Do you say to yourself, I am a thinking person? You don't. You don't need to make that comment to yourself, because you know you are all that, and if thoughts are there or not there, you still are. You know that, because it's your experience. Not only in deep sleep, but in daytime also. There are many moments where there are no thoughts in your mind and you still continue to be. Isn't it? In the same way, the bliss is of such a nature that there is no trace of misery in it. That being so, is it necessary to call the bliss as bliss and to keep declaring, I am Ananda, I am Ananda? There is no need to refer to the bliss as happiness, joy, etc. From the absolute standpoint, no commentary is required. No affirmation is required. No confirmation is required. No sadhana is required. It includes everything, at the same time it excludes everything. That is its. Having thus fully analyzed the three worlds, Sat, Chit and Ananda, their status is now concluded. Manoni sadasadatve gele, chida chidatve mavalale, sukha sukha zhale, kahina ki. Therefore, the existence and its absence, the consciousness and its absence, and the joy and its absence cancel one another mutually, leaving none of them behind. Isn't it? Leaving none of them behind. All opposites cancel each other. Then what is left behind? That which is left behind, we use different names for it, just for our sake. Pure consciousness, truth, eternity, infinity, birthless, deathless, ever pure, pure consciousness, Kutastha Chaitanya, the unchanging principle, the all-pervading principle. These are all words. But really speaking, when you think about these words, there is no, there is no precipitation of any experience. When you think of these words, what I just mentioned, it leads to silence. No object comes in front of your mind to grasp. The word is there, eternity. But what is it indicating? You cannot grasp that. But you keep thinking about it, you will become silent. You keep thinking about infinity, you will become silent. You keep thinking about all pervasiveness, you will become silent, isn't it? So these words are taking you beyond the opposites. But even these words have to be, you don't have to drop, they automatically drop. They automatically drop. Once you are contemplating on who am I, and you keep contemplating on I, you will begin, I am the mother, I am the father, I am the daughter, then no, I am the body, no, I am the breathing person, no, I am the feeling person, no, I am the thinking person who's thinking who am I? Am I foolish? I am thinking about myself. I am already. Why am I thinking like this? Silence. Then will you say I am I also? You will just be. In that state of being, there is no thought eruption. There is just silence. See? Therefore, existence has cancelled non-existence, consciousness has cancelled inertness, happiness has been cancelled by misery. It's wrong. Huh? Happiness is not cancelled by misery. Misery is cancelled by happiness. Then what remains? Nothing of these pairs of opposites remain after mutual cancellation. This nothing is one method of meditation. So to contemplate on the shunya, to contemplate on the empty space, to contemplate on the void, to contemplate on the nothingness is one way of, and there are many schools which propagate that. Now Swamiji is telling this, I did not know. There are 6 types of shunyas. There are 6 types of zeros, it is told. They are Urdhva, Adaha, Madhya, Chaturtha, Panchama and Shata. So what is Urdhva? Urdhva or supreme shunya, the supreme emptiness or supreme non-existence is Shakti. It is shunya because there is no otherness in it. The Shakti, the potentiality which is not other than Shiva is called Urdhva Shunya. I am thinking of it in this way, that when we call as Avyakta, unmanifest. What is unmanifest? Which has not become manifest. What manifests out of unmanifest? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So, the moment Sattva, Rajas, Tamas comes, the differences begin. But in Avyakta, the undisturbed Maya, everything is a homogeneous whole from matter point of view, isn't it? When you are in deep sleep, are there any differences? There is no difference. Everything is a homogeneous whole. So, is the potential for differences to appear there? Yes. But it is not expressing. Same thing at the totality level, it is the Mahashunya, Urdhva. The second Adha Shunya is called Shaktopaya or Jnana Marga, practiced by Ramana Maharishi. When the seeker inquires, where is this Aham, the I, falls and disappears in the heart, in one's own being, this Hridaya which loots away everything, like the ocean which takes away all the waves into itself, or like the gold which engulfs all the ornaments inside itself, this Hridaya is the Adaha Shunya to which contemplation is directed. Just before we came to this point, I was explaining this. When you are contemplating on who am I, the I doesn't need to say anything. When you are thinking of this, just like when you are thinking of the sleep, before you go to sleep, merely by thinking that I am feeling sleepy, I want to relax, I want to go into that unthinking state which you call sleep, everything starts dropping you. everything starts dropping you. And when sleep comes, you don't know. But when it comes, everything has vanished. Isn't it? Exactly the same way. So, sleep has devoured the entire multiplicity that you called it as real. Similarly, when you contemplate on this I, now that sleep is happening under the spell of ignorance. You don't know what happened there. In sleep, you are not aware of yourself. But when we start inquiring into this I, to the exclusion, what we did in meditation, the more you stay with yourself, use the body as the means, come back to the conscious principle. Use the breath, come back to the conscious principle. Use the mind, come back to the conscious principle. And stay there. Don't again go back. Again and again. If you find yourself distracted, again come back, again come back. It will devour all multiplicity consciously. This contemplation. Everything vanishes. You cannot, people talk about letting go. You cannot let go of anything in life. It is impossible. You can only grow out of it. And the only way you can grow out of it is when you are thinking of something higher. Only when you are thinking of something higher, something more expansive, something more all pervasive. Sleep is all pervasive compared to waking and dream because both are included in that. You may not know, but if you inquire, you will find out that the source of dream and waking, dream world and waking world, is the deep sleep. Out of nothing, both of them come out and go back into nothing again. Similarly, when we start inquiring into the I, we reach that shunya. What is the shunya called? Adaha shunya. The emptiness. But which is this emptiness? Is it inert emptiness? No. It is conscious emptiness. It is conscious space. Jnaneshwar Maharaj doesn't say it is inert space. He says solid space. Solid space meaning there is nothing, yet there is everything. And what is that everything? Not the thoughts and potential in the space. No, the one who is pervading the whole emptiness. That is the conscious principle. So it's the conscious space. Chid Ghana.
All these six
Are ways of
shunyas,
contemplation.
Yeah, they're all, the basis is conscious space.
Yes, yes, yes. No, the first one was what do you call? Yes, all of them are conscious
Based
space.
on conscious.
But when you are talking about Urdhva, they already said it is not other than Shiva.
Okay.
Shakti is not. We feel Shiva and Shakti are separate. Potential and the potentiality, they are separate. But actually they are one. Out of that one alone, when that one becomes aware of his potentiality, he is called Ishvara and Maya, or Shiva and Shakti. Isn't it? And then when Shiva and Shakti come together, then the rest of the creation comes about. Like that. Like in Vedanta we say, when Brahman became aware of himself, he is called Shiva, Ishvara and Maya. Then when Ishvara and Maya come together, then Hiranyagarbha comes, and then the Vaishwanara comes, and the Jiva and everything else comes about. Like that. The third, Madhya Shunya, the three techniques of Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi are used to fix the mind so that the limitations of time, space and object may be transcended. So when we do Dharana, it is with respect to the space. We fix the mind in a particular place so that it does not waver. So when we say put your attention at the nostrils and watch the breath come, so we are taking a location so that the mind can remain fixed, so that when it goes wandering, you have a point to come back and make it fixed. So that is dharana. Similarly, in the when you're chanting mentally also, you can do that. Either you can think of the Vishuddhi Chakra, or you can think of the Heart Chakra, or you can think of the Agya Chakra. And those become the points where you fix your mind. Otherwise you can, I will contemplate, oh man, where is the point of contemplation? No, this time, just few minutes ago, it was on the knee. Then you will not chant Om. Your mouth is chanting Om, but your attention is on the pain in the knee. Then after, now where is your point of attention? नहीं यार, it's in the lower back. शक्ल ही बता रही है कि कुछ problem है. Your contemplation is not going. Now we need to put it where the scriptures guide us to. And the three healthy points of focuses are the heart chakra, the sternum, where the esophagus ends. Second is the Vishuddhi chakra, the hollow in your throat. And the third is the Agya chakra, which is the point between your eyebrows. So first is with regards to space, we focus our mind, that is called dharana. When this dharana becomes continuous, it is called dhyan. And when that continuous, that means you're starting to go beyond time. It's not that I am continuous for only 1 minute or 2 minutes. No, you lose the sense of time. Automatically the mind is in that contemplation or in that japa. Then the last part is, if the thought is of the infinite, how long can you think of infinite? Mind will go mad after some time. Baivkoof banata hai mere ko, infinite ke, you're making me think of infinite and I can't experience it. When it does not find an experience to correspond to an idea which is presented to it, mind will stop. Mind will stop. It will drop that thought. And that is called samadhi, where objectivity is dropped. So these three, and when objectivity is dropped, then what remains? Nothing. There is no space, there is no time, you have transcended space with dharana, you have transcended time with dhyan, and you have transcended objectivity with samadhi. Then what is left? That which is left is conscious space, the Mahashunya. And in this way, the fourth of Chaturtha Shunya is contemplation on Vyapini Shakti, the Pranava. There are three types of Om: Vedic Om, Shaivik Om, which is pronounced as Hum or Hunkar, and third, the Shakti Om, Hreem. The fourth Shunya is thus the all-pervasive energy of Pranava, from the individual level to the totality, which keeps expanding as you start chanting the mantra. The fifth, Panchama Shunya or Samana, is a little lower stage of energy of the Pranava, where the mind is still alive and is kept under control. The sixth type of Shunya is Unmana, where the Pranava is involved in such a way that the mind is transcended. Unmana is where Aham Vritti and Idam Vritti Bheda are totally obliterated. This is a very high level of contemplation. Adi Shankara defines Unmani state in such a way. The modifications in the thoughts as they pass from object to object are absent in the absence of objects. This state of thought is called Anadhara, Nirvikara or Unmani Avastha. Unmani Avastha, Nirvikar. Nirvikar means where there is no modification taking place. When does modification take place? Think.
In the presence of an object.
The other way.
In the mind.
Think, you're both close, but think differently. When does modification take place? When I tell you how it takes place, you say, I knew that. So think, when does modification take place?
Between thoughts.
No. Between thoughts, how can modification take place?
They are associated.
Between thoughts is what did you say?
They are associated with the body.
It is untruth.
Well,
You are close but not
when there is imbalance in
associated with what?
with matter.
when you are associated with something, modification takes place. When you give value to something, when you give attention to something, when you get identified with something, whether it is body, whether it is breath, whether it is thought. If I get associated with the thought called Lewis, immediately the Lewis thought will create a form, it will bring out all the memories with regards to Lewis. Isn't it?
So it's a process within thinking, a change within
Think.
a process
No,
which undergoes,
no.
which is
You are losing, you are going into the mind now. I am looking at the mind, how modification takes place. You are in the mind. I am outside the mind. So I am seeing, why does mind vomit thoughts? One reason is subconscious impressions becoming thoughts and appearing. But it is also true that when I give value to a particular thought that has appeared in my mind, the I, because the mind is appearing as two, the I thought and the that thought. Without the I, no thought is possible. Even if I say this is a camera, it is because I know this is a camera, isn't it? Without the conscious, a dead man cannot think. Only a living person can think. So what is that which a thought is possible? The aham vritti, the I thought and the that thought. That keeps changing. I is remaining the same. That keeps changing. What is ego? This I feeling that, this identified I feeling that it is continuous. What we have to discover, that we are not the identified I, we are the, in spite of that, we are the real I. Now think about this. If this I is with one particular object, and if this I gives the attention, oh Teresa, or oh camera, it is my camera, identification complete. Then what will happen as a result of that? It is such an expensive camera, it has been there with me for last 6 years. Oh, Swamiji gave it to me as a present, I will not give it to anyone. I have to be careful when you use it, huh? And I have to take care of it, I have to service it. So many. So that one thought, once only the I got identified with that here is camera. Immediately a flurry of thoughts appeared. Right now think of your child. See how many thoughts come. Just your thought only. No, that child is not even in front of you. Immediately another family of thoughts is created. See, this is called, so one thought, you get identified with it, it becomes a source of many more modifications. This is what we are trying to get to. That modifications happen because we give value, we means I gives value to that object of thought. That object can be something outside, but whatever it is always appearing in your mind as a thought alone, isn't it? Whatever object it is. When you give value to it, it starts multiplying, it starts modifying. Good or bad, that's not our concern, but it starts modifying. Then how do you stop this modification? Don't give value to the thoughts that are appearing in your mind. Don't give value, don't give attention. When you are giving your exam, you're studying, you're applying for your nice movie is going, you disregard the movie. Exams are coming year 12, you disregard the serials that you are watching all the time, or a Hindi movie, or someone calls you out for a party. No man, not today. Maybe from inside you want to go, but you force yourself not to give value to it. No, if I keep thinking even about it, I will not be able to study. I must drop it from my mind. Gone, start again. Isn't it? So we know how to drop giving attention to thoughts, but we are very selective. When it's a question of survival, then we do it. Because if I don't want to give the year 12 exam again, so that fear is making us give it up. So, when will you give up this identification with your thoughts, identification with your body? Till you don't realize, just like you don't want to appear for exams again, it is shameful. I don't want to be with the juniors again. I don't want to come again and slog for one whole year. When this type of, imagine the feeling, maybe you have never failed. I also never failed. And therefore we put 100% into our studies. If you have, this is not the topic here, but my mind is going in that direction. Because we have not convinced, therefore we are not putting efforts to realize in this life. We feel it's okay to be identified with the world. It's okay to play all the roles. This is what life is.
Enjoy.
They think that it is enjoyable. They don't realize that if this life goes away, again you have to be conceived in a womb, again you have to be born, again you have to learn walking, again you have to learn speaking, again you have to get beatings from your parents, again you have to be scolded by the teachers, again you have to get married, again you have to get children, and again all the pains that you have suffered in this life and joys, all those you have to go through again. And what were you really searching? Permanent happiness, isn't it? So why do you want to, why this opportunity is there? Why don't you grab it and come to yourself straight away?
But you can be happy being in the self and be even outside. You can have that harmony, isn't it? With both.
Again, you're missing the point. From the self's point of view, there is no outside.
But that's till you reach the self, you need to have a balance.
It will happen. That's not for you to think. The self is of the nature of auspiciousness. So the more you come towards the self or the God, automatically harmony, integration, dharma will be the natural way of response. But to go to it, but go to
You have
it,
to live with it.
but to go to the self or the Lord, thinking that my life will become better outside, then my daughter will not trouble me, my husband will not trouble me, then the food will appear from somewhere, I don't have to cook anymore. So now then it is a bargain with the Lord. Then it is a bargain with the Lord. And in that process what is happening is you are still maintaining the reality of the world, which is nothing but finite, finite, finite. And the true joy you are going to experience only through the infinite. And that true infinite is the self.
But realizing that you're the infinite, you can still relish the finite, isn't it? You don't have to be a slave to that. To be a slave to
You
the world.
cannot get to the infinite by being a slave of the finite.
You don't need to be a slave. You can just.
You only
just
said
like-
it. I am only repeating what you are saying.
No, I'm telling like the King Janaka who though he realized that he can leave all his attachments in a moment, though he was
What
in.
Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, this thought will not come in your mind. In Janaka's mind, this thought doesn't come. That I am in the middle of the whole country, I am running the country, but I am not of the country. The country is in me. These thoughts don't go into his mind. From the self point of view, there is no duality. That's what we are trying to tell again and again. From your point of view, there is no duality in spite of all the opposites, limbs that are present in your body. Similarly, a person who is established in the self, for him, waker, dreamer, deep sleep, they will continue to express. But for him, everything is me alone. All the people, all the objects, all the good and bad, good people and the criminals, everything is included in the definition of I. Just like in you, all the good bacteria, bad bacteria is included in the definition of I. So there is no question of that only the good cholesterol I am, bad cholesterol I am not. No, that also I am. Only health I am, disease I am not. No, both I am. And you don't talk about it. Or till someone doesn't talk to you. You just accept. You don't voice it out.
And it's spontaneous.
Pardon me?
Everything is spontaneous.
Everything then is because you're not, there's nothing to do or nothing to gain in life. Then such a person is in the hands of the totality. Then therefore he is called Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi. Therefore he is called Bhagwan Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Then there is no individuality expressing out of it. For people, yes, he is an individual. But for him, for that person, if we can superimpose these thoughts on that person, there is nothing called individuality or totality for him. He just is. When you are asked, are you the body? You will say, yes, yes, I am also the body. But if you don't, nobody asks, will you say anything? So if when a teacher is asked, then he speaks about all this. When scriptures are asked, they speak in all this matter, in this manner. But when not asked, it's just state of being, state of oneness.
The cycle of birth and rebirth keeps on going, but every time you take birth, you're totally unaware of how many births you have undergone. You just know only what is happening now. So we are talking about getting salvation or getting realized, so that we will not have any miseries or anything. We'll be one with
The main idea of realization is to dukkha nivritti sukha prapti, removal of all miseries from our life and attainment of eternal happiness.
If it doesn't happen, we take rebirth. But that birth also, we are totally unaware of what has happened.
Bhagavad tells differently. When you are in the womb, you remember everything. You remember everything. Only when you are born, at that moment the switch goes off. Till you are inside the mother's womb, everything you are remembering. You don't want to be born. Shukdev Ji Maharaj didn't come out for 12 years. For 12 years he didn't come out. Why? He says, why should I come out? Again I have to do everything. He was realized. He says, what is birth? What is there? Where I am happy.
But that's the nature of the self. You just have to be. Wherever you are, you have to be.
Correct. And in the end it happened that he had to be, he was born and he started walking. Straight away. Didn't speak. How can a child start walking? Don't inquire into everything. It happened. And the first time he spoke was when he started giving Bhagavad to Parikshit Maharaj. Anyway, we'll look into it in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.